It's been quite a long time since I've had 3 babies, but I did a lot of work with older women with urinary incontinence. So I know the importance of what is going to happen postpartum and the importance of having some sort of help for women through their postpartum period.
What was your job?
I was an OBGYN nurse practitioner, and I worked basically with elderly women. I worked mostly with women who had both stress and urge incontinence. Prolapse, I did a lot of work with women with prolapse.
So you were working in the industry, so you already knew a lot about this. Did you find that there was any stigma back then about dealing with these issues? Were the women that you were working with more nervous or self-conscious about it at all?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think for women that it has been a closet issue forever and still is. In fact, recently I was listening to one of the talk shows, and they were talking about this woman who had this horrible incontinence and felt ostracized and couldn't go anywhere. In fact, a lot of women, when they get older, don't leave because of it. It's so severe. So anything that can be done to help women early on and not have this problem is phenomenal. If there's anything, exercises, time voids, bladder training, anything, and it depends on the type of incontinence too. There's more than one type. There are 3 types: urge, stress, and mixed. I've seen women that prior to the use of incontinence pads, that they only wore certain types of clothes. They only did certain things. If they coughed or sneezed, they'd squat on the floor because the urine would come out. If they didn't try to keep it from coming out, it's a really major health issue, and it's also, as our population is aging, it is very prevalent in women over the age of 80, 90 especially. I think it's 1 out of 3 women will be incontinent. You have established habits that you've learned early on about how to handle something like this. It will really help you later on in life because it's almost inevitable. Well, when I was a young mom, my first pregnancy was twins, but they weren't diagnosed. They didn't have ultrasound at the time. So when I went into labor and kind of had a little bit of problem with labor, just because one was stuck up above the pelvic bone, the doctor said, "Oh, they got the first one out," and he said, "Oh, there's another one up here. So how would you like to go home to that?" You think exhaustion is just a little bit? It was horrendous. And there wasn't much help in terms of support, to work with 2 new babies that were all premature, and you had to be careful. So I wish I would have had at least some of the emotional pieces that occur after delivery. And my last pregnancy was my daughter about 7.5 years later, and she was breech. So she was bottom first. And I delivered her naturally, but I had the worst case of hemorrhoids in the whole wide world. And I wish somebody could have addressed how to help me with that. I knew some things. Well, I think the biggest thing is being prepared. knowing what's going to happen. And I am really impressed that Cora has decided to do a postpartum pelvic floor group, because it is so, you have the baby and that's it. And no one helps you with regaining your physical activity and regaining yourself of what you can or can't do. Women now are more well-read. They know more what's going to happen. They are taking charge of their bodies. Women at my era weren't taking charge of their bodies. So as much as they can, they need to take charge of their bodies and find out what might be happening after, and get that referral so they can find out afterwards if there's something they can do to help themselves. Thank you, Cora.